Arsenal in pole position to sign next Wayne Rooney. Evan Ferguson is the biggest teenage striker I have seen since Wayne Rooney. I remember Wayne Rooney announced himself on the scene with that goal against Arsenal. Rooney was just a few days shy of his 17th birthday when he scored a wild die against David Seaman in 2002, ending our unbeaten away run. What stood out about him is that he already looked like a man. He was physically ready for senior football. No one was saying good talent but needs to hit the gym. And Ferguson is similar. Ferguson joined Brighton in January 2001 and made his debut at just 17 years old. Last season, Roberto De Zerbi held him back a little bit, slowly introducing him into the first team. He scored 6 Premier League goals in 19 games. This season, he has hit the ground running with 4 goals in the opening 4 games. Like Rooney, he does not look like a boy playing a man's game. Ferguson is a big boy and solidly built. At a young age, you do not look at him and think he will be bullied by defenders. He reminds me a bit of Harry Kane in that he can play as a target man with his back to goal, but when he faces the goal, he more often than that looks immediately for a shooting opportunity. Happy to come short as well as run in behind. He has the work rate that modern strikers need. Ferguson is also not just a tap-in merchant. Since his debut, he has scored a range of goals from tap-ins to goals from distance and running in behind. We thought Erling Haaland might be a better goal scorer than Ferguson right now. I think the Irishman has more to his game. Beyond scoring goals, Haaland does not do much else on the football pitch. You can handle that when he is banging 40 plus a season. Ferguson gets involved in Brighton's build-up play. Playing for De Zerbi's Brighton, he is often asked to drop deeper and play as a 10, playing Kane flicks behind the opposing fullback to set his winger clear. This is something you very rarely see Haaland do. Against Newcastle United, he scored a fabulous hat-trick and became the 4th youngest player in Premier League history to do so. Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler, and Chris Bart-Williams, those who did it younger. Now some will now be saying, but 100 million plus for a player with 18 months senior football. That is a lot of money, but if Ferguson scores 20 plus goals this season as he turns 19, it will be well worth it. Winding the clock back to 2004, Manchester United for a pound short of 30 million. Rooney was a few months shy of his 19th birthday and had scored just 15 goals for Everton. It was seen as a huge risk. 30 million was probably the equivalent of 120 million now. At this time, a friend of mine said big money, but Manchester United have signed a potentially world-class forward who will lead their line for 10 years. Rooney would end up going on to play for Manchester United for 13 years, scoring 253 goals for them. The investment paid off. And I see Ferguson as being similar. You spend close to 120 million for him. You are getting a striker who will score bucket loads of goals for over a decade. injury permitting. The alternative is you spend, say, 50 million on Ivan Toney at the age of 27. He only has 4 or 5 years left on the top. So in 5 years' time, you are having to invest another 50 million plus on another striker. You could spend 100 to 100 to you could spend 100 to 120 million over the 10 years on 2 or 3 different first choice strikers, or you spend 120 million on one striker for the next 10 years. There will be a battle for Ferguson's signature, with clubs from home and abroad chasing him, but it is a race I think Arsenal can win. Real Madrid and Barcelona would be seriously consider him. I think the Spanish pair will be our biggest competition. Elsewhere abroad, Bayern Munich now have their striker whistled. I think PSG is now no longer seen as an attractive option for young, hungry players. Close at home, Manchester City have Haaland, so will only move if the Norwegian decides to call it a day with them after 2 seasons. Manchester United have just invested heavily in Rasmus Højlund. The Nicolas Benton looked a handful on his debut against us, and you have to think they will stick with him for a bit. Chelsea would certainly be in the market for a new striker, but at some point, their big spending will catch up on them. Meanwhile, Spurs failed to sign a replacement for Kane in the summer, cannot see Ferguson retiring from trophies and signing for them though. That leaves us and Liverpool both realistic options. You might get Newcastle United sniffing around if they are looking to make a statement. What would this mean for Jesus? Well, Ferguson will still only be 19 years old, so you cannot expect him to play 50 games a season. Jesus has also had a run of worrying injuries since joining, so you wonder whether he is robust enough to lead the line for 50 games. Jesus also provides an option as a cover for Saka and Martinelli on the wingers and can play centrally in behind Ferguson. There would certainly be enough games to accommodate the pair. Arsenal is an exciting place to be right now, and we have one of the most exciting young managers in the game. Mikel Arteta showed with Declan Rice that he has a pull. When he gets on the phone to players to discuss his plans, they are drawn in. They are sold the dream. For now, this is just a people dream, but Ferguson will be on our wish list, and I think we would be in a pole position to sign him if we make our moves early.